the training committee meeting of the Police Accountability Board. And our agenda tonight has two parts. One, we're going to be talking about our initial board training with our consultants from SMK and the training that's going to let us start hearing cases and evaluating cases. And then we're going to talk about some further board governance training. So to start, we had, I guess we want to just sort of be clear about what, how many sessions, which topics SMK is going to be covering, how many sessions we need, how many hours we need for that, if you can sort of help us with that.
Sure, absolutely. So the email that I had sent earlier with regards to the PAB board training sessions, there are 5 areas: anti-bias and implicit bias training. The second is investigations of police misconduct. The third is RPD policy and procedure. The fourth is analyzing PAB investigative reports. And the fifth is the application of the disciplinary matrix, which I know and understand is still in the works. So those are the 5 main topic areas just for the board alone.
Great. And then, and is there a particular order in which you feel they need to be done?
I think with respect to, it would make sense to do the policy and procedure, investigations, analysis of the investigative reports, and the application of the disciplinary matrix in that order.
Okay.
If we can start off with the implicit bias training, and I know Professor Sullivan is available this the 31st as well as April 14th.
Okay, great. So I just want to, the one other thing, so I will contact the board after our meeting this evening to confirm that people will be available this week, because since we hadn't known, we hadn't absolutely confirmed. And is the idea that that will be in person or virtual?
So he can do either in person or virtual. Obviously, given the fact that March 31st is right around the corner,
Right.
April 14th is better for him live.
Okay.
But he can also do March 31st live if necessary.
Why don't we plan? I think, unless I'll ask what the other members of the committee and the staff think about this, but maybe let's plan for the 14th and to start in person on the 14th. Does that make sense to folks? Yes, Deborah, what do you? Does that?
Sounds good to me.
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, just have some
I
consensus.
thought to chime in real quick, just as an FYI, the analyzing PAB investigative report and then training on related to a disciplinary matrix will
Yeah,
have to be at the later on, because ultimately Connor and the PAB has to decide what the structure of the investigative report will and should look like. So,
right.
you know, that needs to be worked out, as well as disciplinary matrix. We could certainly cover the overview of what the investigation should look like. So, you know, that could be done. But, you know, last 2 items probably will coincide with the investigators training, that time frame, because, you know, hopefully by then those components should be finalized, because we have, as an SMK, provided initially the rules that you have approved, as well as the investigative manual and training manuals. But there are certain things that PAB needs to decide as an agency in terms of what and how the report should look like. So, because it has to fit the need of the organization.
Okay, so we have that in a sense scheduled for the last sessions anyway, and we're doing these sort of every other week. So we're looking, you know, a couple months out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because Professor Sullivan and Ms. Malikan will be meeting later on tonight to look at our dates for investigator training, and then connected with Rosalie, as well as the Chief of Investigation, Dwayne, earlier today as well to coordinate that. Because that also has to coincide with, mind you, the case management system. So because that's looking at best scenario, about 8 weeks from if the contract gets signed now, 8 weeks. So
Okay. So I'm going to put this into a calendar and give those dates as tentative with the idea that they can be pushed back if they need to be. How does that sound?
sounds good.
Okay, great. All right, that's really helpful. And that's really sort of all we needed to know, right? If you have any materials for us that you'd like us to be looking at beforehand, if you have, please send them along and we can get going on that. But otherwise, we will plan to start in person on the 14th with you, and we really look forward to that.
We look forward to it too, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much too. Is there anything else that you think we need to know before we?
I don't think so. Thomas, do you have anything
Okay.
else?
Guess we're good. All right, I
Yeah.
don't need to keep you. You've got another meeting to go to, but
No, I don't. Sorry.
all right, that's fine. Good to see you. Thank you.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Take
Have a
care.
good
Thank you
evening.
so much. Yes. All right. That was helpful. It seems clear. So, Danielle disappeared on us. Get her back. So the other thing that I wanted, I thought we could talk about is that the board has talked about this, some of the staff talked about this with some of the staff, that because the board really had to do all the work of putting the organization together as we came in, there were certain things we didn't have the opportunity to do that would have been sort of ordinary had the board already been in place. Like that when new board members come into an already existing organization, there's certain training about governance and sort of things like that, Board 101, that that weren't in place for us. And we want to be sure they're in place for folks as they come onto the board. And, we want to make sure that we are familiar with all of them too. And so we're at a point where we want to set up that kind of governance training. So it seemed helpful just to spend a little time thinking or talking about, what we see that involving, and then we can bring that back to the board to make sure we have some kind of consensus about what we're looking for, and then set a sort of period of time for members of the board individually to bring back proposals about that for us to review. So with that in mind, I'd be happy for, input from the staff if they have experience around these things too, to kind of think about what would be helpful. I'll just start by saying that having had a bunch of experience on nonprofit boards, I'm very aware that while there are some similarities, there are also some very specific things about government boards that are different. And so to me at least, would be helpful for someone who has experience, in board development with government boards, to sort of talk about some of those specific issues that you face when you're the member of a government board. Reverend Nikoloff, did you have something you were gonna say there, or?
Well, I think it'd be great I agree with that. I've served on some nonprofit boards, which are certainly very different from this board. So we don't want to assume anything, especially encouraging inclusivity. I also think it'd be great to have everyone learn some basics around different board roles, whether that's around scribing or chairing a meeting or having to serve as the chair, so that we have some redundancy and so everyone has some basic awareness. Also, so that in fairness to whoever's serving as chair, that the board also knows what is not the chair's to do, so that everyone can realize, oh yeah, we shouldn't wait for the chair to do that, right? Because it's actually everyone's responsibility. I do think just some clear definitions, job descriptions, and also learning some basic training would be helpful.
Nice. Other thoughts?
Nope.
So sorry, what?
No, I was just saying that we needed it. So I'm looking forward to hearing some
Yeah.
ideas around it.
Hey, John, welcome. We're just talking about some sort of further board development things. The other thing that I know a number of us have discussed too, is we really want to make sure that this board is accessible to any member of the community, regardless of their background. And so it seems really important that we develop sort of systems that bring us all to the same page, if you will, if this is a metaphor that works or something. And so that regardless of whatever experience we may or may not have had before, that we have some process where we all go through the same, we all get the same information, we all, get sort of the basics in many ways, whatever, and that it be done for everybody, so that we have sort of a common understanding, common experience around those things, and that we make all the processes of how the board works very transparent and accessible in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's super important, just based on some of the lessons we learned at the beginning, where people, for example, some people didn't know walking in that being on the board would require some potentially stepping away from some other public roles that people may be in, or not being able to comment on particular public issues. So I think learning some of those boundaries and expectations, as well as I know some like media training on how do we represent, once you're a member of this, represent the public, representing the board in public in a way that, is appropriate, and also is aware of some of those potential conflicts of interest there. It's also fair so that people step in and they aren't shocked by that, and I think the more we can make it articulated and clear, again, like you said, everyone being on the same page is vital, so that no one can say, oh, I didn't know that, or oh, because yeah, at this point we should be able to systematize that, I think, a bit more.
So John, we're just sort of talking about what in terms of sort of governance and kind of and I guess in a sense what I'm thinking about is that what I'd said before is that when we came on, there wasn't an existing board, right? But had there been an existing board, there would have been an orientation training, if you will, for the board members. So at this point now, we would like to all do that together, like have whatever training that would have been to create that, so that we all have it together and can be on the same page, but also so that then it's in place as we bring new people on, right? And to kind of think about, so what should the content of that be? So that's what we're kind of brainstorming about. So if you have ideas about that, that would be great if you want to join in that conversation.
Well, certainly. I apologize for my tardiness. I was out walking my dog. I got home and my partner's like 7:30, right? And I was like, oh my God. So anyway, my apologies to everyone.
No worries. We're good. Just also we have notes too, because we already talked to the SMK folks and they just gave us the specific topics for their sessions. And we're going to just to let you know, we'll start April 14th with those too. Okay.
So the other thing is, we do have all the topics finalized, and we've gotten most of the submissions for the content for the other side of the training, which is the non-technical side. So Marina, I'm kindly ask you to distribute the schedule and that thing to the board, so you can make decisions about what you want.
Okay, so wait, I guess I'm confused because I have 5 sessions from SMK. Are there additional sessions that CCSI is doing?
Well, there's sessions that a lot of people are doing. Yes, we're starting on April 4th. And we're doing 3 weeks of like community and individual identity related items.
Okay, wait, is this for the board or for the staff?
For the staff.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We're not, okay. So as long as you just kind of give us the information,
sure,
that's fine, but we don't, we're not.
No, you don't need to be part of that. But
right.
but as you all come together and make decisions about which of those topics you want to prioritize, then we will come up with custom versions for you.
Okay. So I guess we'll all sort of look at that in terms of sort of additional stuff after we go through the ones we do with SMK. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So now we're back to what we might want to be doing here for hey, welcome, Janae. I don't I don't know who you are.
Sorry.
are you-
Janai is one of our new staff members, and
Oh,
I don't
okay.
I don't know how you got on, but you don't have to be on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had seen the email. Wasn't sure if I had to jump on.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Nice
Now
to meet
it's
you.
okay.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Take care.
Okay, great.
Bye-bye, Janae.
Okay.
Don't work if you don't have to. We'll catch
Yeah,
you.
Okay.
Great. Mm.
Janae just started Monday as one of our accountability inspectors.
Very
Okay.
So she's brand new.
Nice. Good. Thank you for that. All right. So, we don't have to linger over this, but so far I've got learning about government boards versus sort of general nonprofits, basics around board rules and roles, job descriptions for officers of the board, expectations or responsibilities for individual board members, formulating common experience, media training, and clarifying expectations.
Sounds good.
I'd really like to see a conflict resolution in there somewhere.
Okay.
Even if it's just
Makes
rudimentary.
sense.
Yep.
Conflict resolution skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was about to say the exact same thing, and Shani, I'm glad said it first. But the fact that we're both thinking it, I think would be
Yeah.
great. Just-
Right. And the other thing, I'm going to also say facilitation skills.
yeah, for real.
Because also, that's something, something we can talk about, different models. I don't think we have to assume a particular model of leadership, and certainly one model of leadership is a shared model where people take turns, facilitating meetings and take turns doing things. And I think particularly, again, as a board that's committed to engaging a diverse community and bringing people up, in terms of developing skills and abilities and whatever, right? We want everybody to have that experience in the context of the board as much as possible, but we want to make sure everybody has that access to those skills.
Well, and when board members are doing community education, like you're saying, in terms of like running neighborhood meetings or getting together, I think that'll double also for that part of the board's duties, which are involving interacting with the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really vital.
Great. Well, it's a good list to start with, I think. All right, and maybe I'll write something up to send to the board. And so at our next meeting, we can put that on the agenda, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. And so just to clarify, so we have these topics that we're going to submit to the board, but the board will still have the opportunity to submit names for people that they would like to.
Okay. No, I don't. So my hope is not to submit names, but to submit proposals from people.
That's where I was going with that. So
Right,
I'm saying
sorry.
they would submit proposals from people, but they actually also say, hey, we people in the community that we know, we can have them submit a proposal. Yes.
Right, but have them and then we can go through proposals, and then if they're people who are of interest, then we can interview some of them. But I don't think we should just have like 20 people come talk to us.
That's not, yep. If they go through the proper procedure, then I think that we should but this is a good time then to discuss what the actual process will look like when we're looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Right. We've done that before, like we've had a checklist before. So maybe we should be thinking about that in like a little bit ahead.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And it may be, looking at like, that it may be that we want somebody to come do, a specific skill or something. Maybe not be that someone does everything, but we'll just sort of see in terms of how that shakes out. Great. Okay, good. I think we can end the meeting.
Can we also?
Yeah.
I don't know if it should be exactly in the training, but I also think just given the inevitability of this potentially happening, some sort of training on how to leave or how we want to also say farewell to members. I know that's not so much a training thing as it is a wide thing, but I do think having some, having that established as well, that like, if you end up finding a need to resign, what does that look like in terms of your obligation as a board member? Because what we're really essentially writing here, right, is kind of a along with the training criteria that we're looking for from people we would potentially work with, is also kind of a basic job description, right, of what the board's going to be doing. And so I do think also if people are, say, becoming new board members, letting them know, like, I think we should have some expectations, like resignations can happen in these cases, but we're really looking for the full service of the term. So no one's shocked or surprised at, what they're going to be getting into. I just think we need to be, we need to be upfront about that.
Right, but that's why expectations are there. So for instance,
Yeah,
we had no way of knowing, we've talked about this, right? Like when we went on the board, we were all interviewed and said, well, do you have the time to do, like, are you going to devote whatever time it takes? And we sort of said yes, but we didn't know what time it was going to take, right? I don't think any of us knew what it was going to take. But I'm saying, but now that we're at a place where we can, I think, be more realistic about expectations and be clear with people. But I also think, part of what we need to discuss is also sort of institutional loyalty. Like, in other words, that we want people who are committed to the welfare of the organization, not just during their term, but in the long run after they leave. So in other words, I feel part of my responsibility as board member is not just to, like, obviously I'm getting a lot of satisfaction from this work. It's very meaningful. I feel it's important, but I also care about the long-term health of the organization after I leave, right? And how it's going to continue. So for instance, doing this kind of training and having everybody on the board learning skills and developing relationships in the community, whatever, is important for the long-term health of the board.
Yeah.
Right? As an organization and as an institution. And the way that I speak about the board publicly, or the way that I, whatever, there are all kinds of things, but to talk about caring about the institution and not, right.
Absolutely. Well, transitioning off the board is important. And I also think, including stuff like we need a 2-week notice just so that we can transition, or we can start looking for your new person or whatever. And also gather data from people who are at the end of their terms, so we can find out what worked and didn't, so we keep fine tuning our process.
Right.
But,
to have an exit interview is certainly good policy. Right. But
again, I don't know if it falls here, but just, I think as we're building a list of stuff, I think it's just good to make sure we don't forget to work that in there. So, but I appreciate, I think we'll get to it.
Okay, question. Are we going to be doing and John, can you answer this? Trauma-informed care, I believe, is also part of the training program for the staff, but I know that that's something that we had spoken about for the board as well. Mm-hmm. Can we also put that in the list as well, trauma-informed care?
Absolutely. So I think that comes, but I think that comes under the heading of initial, like, that's not a governance training. That's more of the stuff that we're going to, keep in the context of the mandated trainings that we're doing for the charter, right?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I just want to make sure that we're thinking about that, but it sounds like we've already discussed it. So
great. And we'll get and we're going to get an updated list from you, right, John? Updated schedule, training schedule for the staff and list and everything. So we can look at that and sort of say what pieces are important to make sure we do with the board.
Yeah, so we'll get the schedule.
Sorry.
So the schedule will be final. We only have 2 more people to just slot in, and that's week 4. But I'm meeting with them in the morning, and then that will go out to Deborah, and then we are working on finalizing the training description for the manual and all that information.
Great.
So,
and what day does the staff training start?
On next Monday.
Next Monday.
The 4th. Mm-hmm.
Next Monday will be an introductory session to the trainings, meeting the senior staff. And, because we couldn't find a location, so we decided to do a Zoom 2-hour meeting. And then that way, that's kind of like the kickoff.
Okay. So then my question also isn't just in terms of the board, just to be clear, maybe you could do a version of the schedule for us where it shows, I don't know it would be fine for me if not all the sessions are appropriate for the board to be there. There's stuff that the staff has to do with each other, right? So if there's a way of indicating, which sessions are open for the board, or where, if there's anything on Zoom, where we'd find the link or something.
They are all open for the board. So all board members are allowed to attend anything on that schedule. So that's entirely at your discretion. we just ask that people just RSVP. But other than that, then
Okay.
as we go through them, then we'll make some decisions about, again, what y'all want to prioritize and get that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Wonderful. How exciting. It's happening.
It is happening.
Thanks for all this hard work. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Anything else that we need to or could cover before we finish or?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. Good. That's why I like short meetings.
Yeah, same.
Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Great meeting.
Well, yep.
Goodbye.
Go play. Don't work.